Taylor. Thanks so much for coming in today. So before we get started, I just want to see if you have any specific issues that you're dealing with any clients right now that you would like to talk about in this supervision session.
Yeah, I do have a case with a girl at the school. I've been struggling with it because basically it's a girl who has been very disruptive, very conniving and manipulating, and it's a constant thing. No matter what we do or work with her, she just continues to do it. And I think that there might be some type of mental health issue there, maybe like a diagnosis, but she may be too young. But basically, what I want to focus on in this supervision is I feel like I can't work with her. I feel like I can work with her because I can be helpful, but all of the things that she's done are in the back of my mind, and the way that she acts and the way that she treats her fellow students and even staff members has made up rumors about staff members, like very serious rumors about sexual allegations and about peers, and gets them in fights, fist fights and stuff. And it's just like she creates so much turmoil, and I just like can't like her. Like
Okay.
I'm almost annoyed by her, and I'm just like, why is she doing this? And I like don't even know if I want to work with her, but I know that something else might be going on. So kind of just exploring my relationship with her, and like how I'm just like, I don't like what she's doing, and so I don't feel like I'm being successful with her.
Okay, so kind of just that's the main relationship you want to focus on today, just kind of exploring maybe personal reactions to that, professional reactions to that, and just maybe where to go from here in terms of your relationship with her as a student-counselor relationship.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Well, I think the model for supervision that I want to use with you today, it's called the Psychodynamic model.
Okay.
And it's basically based on the dynamics of you, like maybe the resistance to work with her, and that kind of resistant feeling that you're getting just from the things that she's done that you're not really liking that she's caused at the school. And maybe the way that you're reacting to the client, and also just maybe the client's reaction to you as the counselor.
Okay.
And basically this model just allows us to kind of look at the implications of transference and countertransference in the session, and just kind of explore those feelings a little bit more to see kind of where they're coming from, maybe what we can do to help you through those sessions, because you are the counselor.
Exactly.
So, it will just allow us to look at just how the reactions influence the therapy over time.
Yeah, and like I want to be helpful for her.
Yeah.
And I want to remain, I want to remain as professional as I can without letting my personal opinion get into it. It's just this kid's actions. It's very disturbing, and I'm just like, is this kid even helpable? Like, is there any potential if I do spend my time working with her? So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you bringing this up. It's not an easy topic to talk about.
And
I know we've talked a little bit about resistance before, and even resistance in our supervisory relationship. So I kind of want to ask you, do you see any similarities between maybe our relationship that we've been developing and the relationship that's starting to develop with this client?
Maybe just, I don't know, because I feel like this has been a pretty successful supervisory relationship. I mean, there's definitely a power dynamic. Well, not necessarily because you portray that, but in supervision, the supervisor, I feel nervous, like, am I doing this right? Will my supervisor approve of this? How is this going to look when I get evaluated? So things like that. Well, maybe a connection that I can draw is, her not being aware, the lack of that, like, not necessarily resistance, but like the lack of her being aware of others' reactions to what she does.
Okay, that's a really good.
So, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. Kind of how you're aware of maybe what I do influences how I'll be evaluated.
Yeah.
She's not really necessarily thinking, if I act out in class, I don't care what happens. She's not being aware of what will the repercussions be of my actions.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, resistance-wise, I mean, sometimes when I'm like critiqued or criticized, I get defensive, and that's something maybe not. not in a rude way. It's just because maybe I feel insecure about, like, oh, I knew to do that, but I did it this way. So maybe also that could relate with her as well, because, like, when I call her out on it or I confront her about her behavior, she gets defensive, and then she kind of bucks me. Like she doesn't want to hear. Like, she knows what she did, and she acts like she doesn't care. So she'll continue on with her behavior. So, I mean, that's another way that I can relate it.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good job that you were able to pick out those similarities, because it's hard to kind of look objectively at ourselves and the relationship with our students. So I think that's a really good job. And I know that you kind of said a little bit about the approval piece. And I know you and I have talked about it before, just the relationship of a supervisor and a supervisee. Like you said, there's always that kind of search for approval.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes when you confront her, you're worried about maybe not having the approval from her?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Maybe my fear of not being successful with her is something that can get in the way as well. Because I don't really have to be liked by everybody, but I want to have a relationship where they feel that they can come to me, and I don't feel like I have that with her.
Okay.
So being aware of that, and I didn't think of it that way, that's a good question that kind of makes me think about it, because I don't know. Like, I think that maybe I do want a counseling approval of her. I don't want it to be her best friend, but I kind of want the counseling aspect approval from her.
Okay.
And I want her to listen to me, and it's kind of like that's where the power dynamic can come in as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good realization from you, because, like you said, it is, no matter how hard we try, we always kind of do have that power dynamic.
Yeah.
And to have a good relationship with her, you're trying to, but at the same time, she's bucking that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of causing you to have a little bit of resistance and fear of confrontation too. So I think that's a really good realization that you made, because it allows you to kind of explore your feelings a little bit more deeply, and it might change the dynamic of your relationship, because you might be able to kind of pick up when you're thinking about that kind of stuff.
I think that that's very true, because having that can maybe help me go a different way with her, and maybe change the goals I have with her, or my approach in counseling with her.
Yeah, and then I guess my final question for you is just, I know that you're having like a pretty emotional response to her, and just kind of how she's behaved, how she's acted in the past. Do you see any similarities maybe with anyone else that you've ever had this type of reaction to in your own personal life?
Yeah, I would say, I've had a family member that just kept on, and even friends who, like, know that what they're doing is not right, and they continue to do it without any regard for anybody else's feelings. It's almost like a trait of selfishness, but I don't know. It's just like they're so selfish, they don't think of how, if I do this, how's it going to ripple effect into everybody in my life? And I've definitely had people like that. I've had friends that I try to give advice, like, this is not a good career path for you, or, why are you reacting to me this way? Why are you treating me like this? So a lot of, like, what if, shoulds, things like that, which we've talked about, but I think I have a lot with her. So that's pretty much who I could relate to in my personal life. Not anyone specific, besides just a family members and friends.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that, and I think that kind of might help you understand a little bit more maybe where your feelings are coming from with her. It could even be just that kind of transference happening, where you're thinking about those family members, a couple of those friends, and kind of displacing that onto her without even really realizing it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's something really good that you are able to identify in yourself, and that's something that we can definitely continue to work on throughout these supervision sessions.
Yeah.
Because it does take time, and it's not easy, and it's hard to kind of build those relationships with every single person, because sometimes people just don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you think that this model was able to help answer your questions, or?
Yeah, because I never thought of, my feelings of approval with her, and that's something that can be not just necessarily with her, but like, exploring my feelings of approval with other kids and or clients, and why am I tying their approval of me to my success? And that's something that I need to work on. And, you know, even developing weaknesses or identifying them can help me develop stronger aspects of that weakness. And so it was helpful for me because it helps me realize that being self-aware is so key to being a good counselor, and having this consultation process is very important, and being aware of myself, my feelings in all aspects, all communication with all relationships, even a supervisor relationship and a counselor-student relationship. It's just very important to be aware of the dynamics between us. So it was helpful for me to reflect a little bit on my personal feelings with that.
Good, I'm glad, and I just want you to know you're doing a really great job. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing. I think it's totally normal that you're kind of having these feelings right now, going back and forth with, can I even help her? Do I even want to help her? And I'm really glad that you're willing to explore those feelings because, like you said, it will help you become a better counselor in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can definitely keep working on this in our next supervision session if that would be helpful, and just
maybe like check up on it. Yeah. Okay, that would be great.
Well, thank you for coming in, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
No problem. Thank you as well.